Hey, are you a high achiever who struggles with perfectionism? Do you get stuck in the cycle of overthinking? Do you do everything for everyone else because you think otherwise it won't get done? Do you feel like you should come with a disclaimer? Hi, I'm anxious. Hey, I'm Katy. Full disclosure, I'm not a therapist, doctor, or mental health professional. I'm just a career mama who also struggles with anxiety. For me, anxiety reared its head at the most inconvenient times, when I wanted to be present with my family, at those high-pressure business meetings, when I was laying in bed awake at night worrying instead of sleeping. I just wanted to relax and be able to have fun, and I know that you do too. What if you found tools to manage your anxiety? What if you knew how to enjoy life even though you are anxious? Look, it's time to put down that third cup of coffee and swap it for some lemon water. We're going to get control over anxiety so it can stop controlling you. Let's go, girl. Hello, friends. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt so stressed, so anxious, so overwhelmed that you felt on the verge of panic or an anxiety attack? If so, you are not alone. Today, I'm going to share about a time when this happened to me. And the great news is that I'm going to teach you how you can stop this feeling in its tracks. Together, we'll learn and practice a simple technique that you can use as a tool in the moment whenever you feel this feeling of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, or panic. Before we get into today's episode, I'd like to invite you to join my free Facebook group. I've created the group as a place for you to come together with me and others like us to build community, learn together, and also have some fun. Who here couldn't use a little more fun in their life? You can find the link to the Facebook group in the show notes for today's episode. I hope to see you in there. Friends, today I want to teach you one simple, effective, free, and easy tool that I have used to successfully stop rising anxiety and overwhelm from becoming full-on panic. One day, a couple of years ago, I remember distinctly a time when I was so overwhelmed at work. I felt pressure increasing in my head, my chest was tight, and my jaw was so tense that it was aching. I went about my day trying to just muscle through it until I reached a point where I realized I was in my office, spinning my wheels, not making any progress on anything, and increasingly feeling these physical sensations that I just couldn't ignore anymore. I was stressing so badly about my growing to-do list that I was becoming paralyzed with overwhelm. Finally, I felt like I was panicking so badly, I felt like I was on the verge of an anxiety attack. I felt like I could barely take a full breath. And somehow in that moment, I remembered this technique I had learned called box or square breathing. I had learned it a number of years ago. So I sat in my chair and I used this technique, and you know what happened? It took me about 1 minute, and I was able to calm my body and mind enough that I was able to function again. I quickly prioritized my to-do list and moved on to the next couple of items. So today, I'd like to give you the gift of teaching you square breathing. If you can, start by sitting feet flat on the floor. Next, exhale, pushing all of the air that you can out of your lungs. This is your starting point. Now I want you to picture a box or a square. Start in the top corner of the box, and as you move across the top, breathe in slowly to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Really try to breathe in as much air as you feel like you can fit into your lungs. Next, as you move down the side of the box, hold your breath to a slow count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, as you move across the bottom of the box, breathe out slowly to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Really work here to wring out every bit of air from your lungs that you can. And finally, as you move up the side of the box, hold your breath to a slow count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then repeat. Use the technique as many times as you need to in a row so you can bring yourself back to calm. I've found that when you use this technique, you can shift both your mind and body from a state of tension, panic, overwhelm to a state of calm. Square breathing, it's so simple but so effective. I love that you don't need much time to use it, and you don't need any special tools or to be in any certain location to use it. You can use the technique anywhere, anytime you feel the anxiety and overwhelm reaching that stage of panic. So I'll go through square breathing one more time, and I invite you to practice with me wherever you are right now. If you can, start by sitting with your feet flat on the floor. Next, exhale, pushing all of the air that you can out of your lungs. This is your starting point. Now, picture a box or a square. Start in the top right corner of the box, and as you move across the top, breathe in slowly to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, as you move down the side of the box, hold your breath to a slow count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, as you move across the bottom of the box, breathe out slowly to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Finally, as you move up the side of the box, hold your breath to a slow count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, how did that feel? Did it feel good? I venture to guess that it did. So your homework this week is to practice this square or box breathing technique, and try to practice it when you aren't in need of it, so that you can learn it well enough to think of and implement it in the moment when you actually are in need of it. You never know when you might reach a stage of panic or such anxiety that you feel overwhelmed or immobilized. This could happen when you feel high pressure at work because your to-do list is growing rather than diminishing, when you're trying to make dinner and your kids are tugging at your legs, or when you're trying to reply to business emails and your husband is interrupting you to ask you questions. And if any of these things happen, remember, you can use the square or box breathing technique to restore your body and your mind to a more calm state. Friends, before we part today, I'd like to read a podcast review left by one of my listeners, Aggie863. Aggie863 says, Katy has a gift for delivering practical tips in a soothing and calming way. Her voice is smooth and relaxing. I love how relatable she is, and when I listen to her podcast, I know I'm not alone. There are other people out there experiencing the same things I am, and it's okay. So good. Aggie863, I am so grateful to you for taking the time to leave me this review. My heart is so happy to hear that you find the podcast delivers practical tips in a soothing and calming way, and also to know that you feel you aren't alone when you hear the podcast, and you're right, it is okay. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for sharing this with me. And friends, I'd really appreciate if you would also go rate and review the podcast in Apple Podcasts. I truly appreciate your feedback because it helps me create shows that help you. That's all for today, friends. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to talking with you next week. Hey friend, thanks for being here. Did today's episode help you feel more in control of your anxiety? Did it inspire you to rest or relax? Or maybe it challenged you to really look at why anxiety is a part of your life? If so, I'd love to hear from you. If you would take 30 seconds, pause this episode, scroll down in Apple Podcasts, and leave me a review, I would be so grateful. See you next week. Disclaimer, I am not a medical professional, and this podcast is not providing therapy or medical treatment. Contents of the podcast are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider with your health questions and concerns.